Here is Thom Hartmann with his guest Mary Trump together to break down the latest on Trump and what may come next.
The Mueller report, I wish, covered the oranges, how it started. In the failing New York Times by an anonymous, really an anonymous, gutless coward. They sacrifice every day for the furniture and future of their children.
Tim Apple.
Mike Pounds.
I know words. I had the best words.
Yosemites, Nambia.
Thailand. You have voter ID to buy a loaf of bread. The Democrats. Ooh, there was a mosquito. I don't want mosquitoes around me.
What happens when a man like your uncle, who's a serious narcissist, who has never apparently in his life suffered the consequences of any of his actions, suddenly may be confronted with the possibility of having to pay for something he's done?
Well, Tom, first of all, it's great. It's great to be back with you. I think we're in for an interesting few weeks. One thing to understand about Donald is the thing that is most dangerous to him psychologically is humiliation. So therefore, he's very wily at transforming what would be a humiliating event into something that he can see as a win. And we've seen this in the way he's trying to preempt the horrors of being fingerprinted and getting his mugshot taken by telling people that this is a stand he's taking against this corrupt system that is coming after him illegitimately. And we know that he's already fundraising off of this. However, I think that's sustainable for only so long, especially if people start falling away in terms of supporters. All of this, of course, is complicated by the fact that in the last couple of weeks, we've seen Fox and the entirety of the Republican Party standing with him.
So how do you keep Republicans positive and not buying into kind of the negative publicity that they're seeing?
I think she's a worse candidate than him. She's far more radical left. She is younger. I mean, she's 60 years old. A lot of people, I didn't realize she was 60. I thought she was a little younger. But she's 60. She is talking a big game, but her game is pretty bad. I mean, she was the border czar. She's trying to pretend that she wasn't. You know, it's an amazing thing that's happened too, because we did a long time ago.
It's an evolution, Mr. President. That yes, she was more progressive in 2020, but that she's moved to the middle on a number of these issues, and they're making a concerted effort to show kind of a new Kamala 2.0.
In politics, when you start off saying something, that's where you are.
But there's a very long period of time between an indictment and a trial and a conviction, et cetera. So I think there are a lot of questions that remain to be answered.
Right. He may well outlive or not fail to outlive, any actual consequence.
What we've seen in the past is that Donald can be very pragmatic when necessary, and it's almost always in the service of his self-preservation. He tells us that he believes the 2020 election was stolen from him. He continued to be the legitimate president, and yet he left. He could have stayed in the Oval Office and dug his heels in, but one, that would have taken courage, and two, that would have put him in a position of having to demonstrate a kind of strength he doesn't possess. So I think it's much more likely he shows up, whatever the agreement is going to be, he shows up, he goes through the motions, and he leaves, and again, turns his grievance into a grievance that should be owned by all of his followers.
So how do you expect his followers to react? I saw in the news this morning that a total of 6 people had shown up outside Trump Tower to protest on his behalf. It's definitely not January 6th.
No, I think Donald has definitely been weakened in the intervening months. And again, as Dahlia Lithwick pointed out to me, it's much harder to nationalize something that's so personal. January 6th, he was able to make it about our government. He was able to make it about patriotism. It's very difficult to do that about a seedy transaction in which he was clearly in the wrong. So it doesn't have the same kind of energy. I'm much less concerned about large protests in places like New York. First of all, New York can handle it, and it's probably just going to be a bunch of disgruntled people from Long Island who will be vastly outnumbered either by counter-protesters and or law enforcement. I'm much more concerned about the kinds of stochastic terrorism that Donald Trump is perfectly comfortable engaging in.
Right, or inciting, essentially, that he could be inciting the next Tim McVeigh or the next Las Vegas shooter type person, to act on his behalf.
Right, exactly.
So, in that context, can we talk about Contagion? Donald Trump's unique psychological profile. To what, his narcissism, his other psychopathologies. To what extent do you think that it seems to me that his bullying, for example, has empowered every bully in America. The GOP has adopted bullying and now as their principal strategy. That bullying is contagious. What other aspects of his personality are contagious, and how does that contagion play out?
I think maybe the most troubling aspect of his psychopathology that has sort of spread, metastasized, is his willingness to use cruelty as a weapon. Adam Serwer famously said that the cruelty was the point, but it's also a strategy, and that has been embraced wholesale by the Republican Party and people who consider themselves to be members of the Republican Party. That plus just the unwillingness to admit when they're wrong. Basically, I think the simplest way to put it is that while it's true on the one hand that Donald Trump drew a brand new roadmap for the Republicans to follow, never concede, you don't have to follow norms anymore. You can push the envelope and see what you get away with and keep pushing, right? But, he's also, I don't believe at all that he's changed the party. I think he's revealed the party to be what it's been for decades.
Since Nixon, basically.
Yeah, at least since Nixon, yes. And they now have permission, which is permission he's given them, to be their worst selves and to govern accordingly and to engage as citizens, so to speak, accordingly.
I know Donald Trump's type. And in this campaign, I promise you, I will proudly put my record against his any day of the week.
There's the attack. What's the retort?
Well, I think it's disgusting, and I get a kick out of one thing. They say, sir, be nice. You just got hit with a bullet. Maybe he's changed. Be nice. And I'd love to be nice, but I'm dealing against real garbage. When you hear that, they've weaponized the justice system against me. They've indicted me 4 times. They've pushed other lawsuits onto me. It's never happened in this country. This is like a third world country, what they've done, a banana republic. Every single court case that I have is pushed on by them.